Welcome to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough, the Parenting Through Challenges podcast. I am your host, Angie Grant, and today I want to dig into a topic that I've alluded to in quite a few episodes, but today I want to focus just on that. So here's what it is. Parenting and even life feels hard right now. I hear that everywhere that I go. It's not just you. It's not that you're failing. It's not that you're not trying hard enough. It's not that you aren't doing enough for your kids. There is a huge energetic shift that is happening. It is normal to feel frustrated right now. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's normal to feel chaotic because, quite frankly, you, myself, your parents, your grandparents, even your great great grandparents, and a few generations before that have been raised in, have grown in, have learned about life through an energetic era of structures and routine and outside authority. And what this looks like to us is the structure of a health system, the structure of a government, the structure of education systems. What this looks like is having feeling a pain in our belly, for example, and not really taking a moment to check in with ourselves and instead trusting that somebody outside of ourselves know what's going on with us. We've been raised over the past many generations to learn or trust or believe that there's this outside authority and that we need structures and routines to really understand that. And so this idea of a pain in the belly, right? We're taught, I mean, my goodness, turn on your TV right now and there's a commercial for some type of medication that will tell you exactly what you need to do about that pain. We've been taught that there's something for sale on TV that's going to tell you how to take care of you. Instead of really trusting your your gut, trusting your intuition, taking a moment to really check in with yourself about what's been going on in your life that may have led to that pain, as an example. But this doesn't just apply to physical ailments. This applies to every area of our life. We've been conditioned and we believe that there is something outside of us that knows better about how we parent. When we're struggling with parenting, instead of checking in with our own intuition, and every parent has intuition, instead of trusting that or even being able to hear it, we jump to a podcast. We jump to a book. I know that's ironic, right? You're listening to my parenting podcast, but but hang with me for a minute because I know that we've been taught that this is how we parent, that we've been taught that we can't possibly know what's right for us, what's right for our families. And that's not a bad thing, right? You We went through this era because it was necessary. It was a necessary part of human evolution. And now that era is ending. And we're moving into this era of individual empowerment. But I would say that right now we're in what some people would call the liminal space. We're in this space where we see all this evidence about what once was, that it's breaking away. It's not working. We see more and more people aren't trusting health systems, aren't trusting education systems, sure aren't trusting politics. I mean, there's so much evidence of that around us, right? That we see more and more evidence that these structures are falling away, but we don't know what's next. We can't see it. We can't like grasp it. We can't fully understand it because it hasn't been created yet, because it isn't a structure. What we're moving into is well, we're moving out of external authority and moving into more of an internal authority, more of a self-trust. And when we've never experienced anything like that, we have no framework to compare it to. And I don't know what the future will look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 200 years. I can't possibly know that. But what I know is that right now we're in this space. I think about it like if you were in a long-term relationship, maybe you were married for a long time and there were things that were happening that were necessary and you learned lessons from them. And it was the only way that you knew how to be. But now you're in this phase of either ending that relationship or you have ended it, but you don't know what's next. And you're in what is called liminal space. It's the space between what once was and what will be. In this space, it can feel really frustrating or quite frankly, it can feel really scary because we don't know. And as humans, we want to have everything figured out. We want to know the plans. And when I think about through the lens of human design, there's so many parts of our each of our unique designs that can cause this liminal space to be even more overwhelming, more frustrating. For example, those who have a first line in their profile need that stability. They need to know what's happening. And oftentimes they're great at researching. Well, how do we research what hasn't happened yet? How do you create a strong foundation for things that you don't yet know? Or for fourth line profiles, they also need that stability, but they also need it through connection. And right now we're in this era, this phase in humanity where connection has gotten strangely hard, where I was chatting with my chiropractor actually the other day, and I don't know how we got on the topic of watches, but I have an old school analog watch, but not many people do. Most people have many, not most, I don't know. Many people have smartwatches. And I find it incredibly challenging to have a conversation with somebody who has a smartwatch because I'll be engaged in a conversation and then they're distracted and responding to a different conversation on their wrist. And then they're back in the conversation with me, and then it buzzes or dings again, and then they're back at their wrist. I find it so hard to really connect with people at a deep level because we're so pulled. We feel so much pressure to engage in all of the things. We feel like if we don't respond quickly, that something bad will happen. We have this fear. And so connection is especially hard right now. And so for our fourth line profiles, being in this liminal space where it's hard to connect and you don't really feel that stability, it can feel overwhelming. Or for, there all of the gates in the spleen are fear gates, which can, for a whole slew of reasons, can cause fear in us. For example, like I have a fear of inadequacy, that gate 48, which can cause me to think that I don't know enough, that I'm not prepared enough for whatever's coming next. Or the gate 44 is the fear of the past repeating itself. And when we look back over the past and what has happened, what led us to where we are today, the fear can be really paralyzing to think like in today's society, if the past repeated itself with where we're at today, with how we connect with others and what's happening in our government systems, in our schools, in our hospitals, if the past is repeating itself, that can also be terrifying. And there's so many other fears that are part of our design. But the, my point being that it is in this space that it makes sense that we're feeling chaotic, overwhelmed, anxious, dysregulated, and it's spilling into our kids. When we, as the parents, are modeling this space of dysregulation, our kids pick up on it. Our kids need us to be regulated. And I'm not saying that so you feel more guilty. We have enough of that, right? I'm saying that because we see and react to the behaviors happening in our kids while we as parents are also dysregulated and in many ways disconnected. And so our kids are changing. The needs of our kids are changing. The needs of our relationships are changing. We were raised in the space of following authority, and our kids now are really being wired to question it. So as we move into this space of individuality, which we see in our kids, right? We see how very individual and unique our kids need to be. We see them expressing themselves. And again, we've been seeing this unfold for quite some time now. It's not that this is all new. It's just we're in a bit of a pressure cooker right now, that it is really in our face in every area of life. We've been moving in this direction. Our kids our kids are going to amplify what we've been seeing little bits and pieces of over the past several decades. Our kids are amplifying it for us. They're more sensitive to what's happening. Our kids are more in tune with what's happening as well. We're moving out of this era of planning and worrying and into an era of personal alignment and really connecting with ourselves. But it requires us to take a pause. It requires us to take a step back and perhaps break some patterns that aren't serving you anymore. When I look at what's happening around us, right, the story is told through the lens of human design, but we all have our own unique energetic needs. And our human design tells us so much about how we are all perfectly equipped to navigate what we're going through. None of us, right, as a society, these energetic changes are happening. It's inevitable and it's not a problem. It just feels, I don't know, scary or chaotic right now because we don't know it. We haven't been here before. And for some of us, certain parts of it, like I had kind of highlighted, for some of us, certain parts of it can feel a little bit harder or insurmountable or scary. But none of us are designed to not be able to thrive through these changes that are happening. We are all designed just so perfectly to do our part, to be ourselves through the changes that are happening. But every design, every human design, every gate, every channel, every center, they all have the ability for us to get stuck on the lower frequency side, or someone call it the shadow side. And they all have the ability to be in a higher energy, to be on that gift energy, the higher frequency. But it requires us to have an awareness about ourselves in a way that perhaps we didn't have 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 20 years ago. Because when we have this awareness about where we're getting stuck, where those patterns are that need to be broken, it then gives us permission to step more fully into who we are. Because each of us, I see this to be true in every chart that I've ever pulled for any human. And as I work with other human design specialists, I see the beautiful gifts that we all bring to the table. But we're taught and conditioned to really focus on the shadow energies, the lower frequencies of our own design, and to see our faults. And that's okay. But if we stay stuck there, if we stay stuck in old patterns, we stay stuck in burnout, we stay stuck in feeling disconnected, we stay stuck in fear, and we don't make a decision to take a pause, take a step back, and really be more curious about what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, what we're seeing with our kids, what we're seeing in our relationships. If we don't take that pause, then we're just going to keep repeating that loop. Breaking that pattern oftentimes requires a conscious decision. Sometimes pattern breaking happens because something outside of us, something tragic happens, and that can cause us to break a pattern. We see that happen all the time, right? If you're a smoker, know somebody who smokes, and then suddenly they have a heart attack, even though they've tried to quit smoking for, so many times, so many decades, and they just can't seem to break that pattern. And then something tragic happens, poof, they're a non-smoker, right? We see that happen, but I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I want to make conscious decisions about the patterns that aren't serving me and my family anymore and break those. And I think that right now we're feeling this pressure. I said it feels a bit like a pressure cooker. We feel this pressure, but when we don't know where to go next, it feels scary and we don't know what to do and we don't know what decisions to make. I think knowing where to go, it's so incredibly unique for all of us. And human design has given me powerful insights about where I'm supposed to go next. And it's not about like human design tells you exactly what you're supposed to do and who you're supposed to be, but it shows you how to align with yourself. It shows human design shows you how to make decisions that are right for you, which is exactly what this new era is really calling all of us to do. It's calling all of us to really stop looking outside of ourselves for the right answers and start looking inside of ourselves for what feels right to us. Because nobody, no, not even my closest family members, my closest friends, nobody in my life knows what's right for me more than I do. But I've spent decades listening to everybody else tell me what's right for me. It's really just been in the past few years that I've been having this increased awareness about, oh, wait, my head is telling me that that's what I like to do, but I'm such a conditioned people pleaser. My head is telling me that's what I like to do, but actually my gut says, it's not what I want to be doing right now. And that's a hard place to be in because people around you may not understand. But the more that we can step into that, be able to articulate it to the people that we care most about so that we can pull them into the fold of what we're doing, it puts us in a position where we're more and more aligned with what's right for us. And this is the energy we're moving into, whether or not we want to. If you're somebody who likes your old patterns and you like the way that things are, this may feel more challenging for you than if you're somebody who is curious and wants to continue to expand and grow. Our kids also have this gift in them. Our kids also have this beautiful ability to trust what's right for themselves. But as parents, we often quickly teach them that they need to make decisions that are right for us, not for them. As parents, when we have that awareness, when the very simplest thing that you could do for your kids to help them have more of that inner alignment, the simplest thing that you can do is ask them questions that are aligned for them. It's a great place to start to help really empower our kids. And it's so simple. If you have a kiddo who is a generator type, who has a defined sacral, asking them yes, no questions until you get at their truth will help them learn to trust their own intuition, learn to trust their own inner knowing. And if you have kids who are non-generator types, so a projector, a manifestor, or a reflector, if your kiddos are that type, giving them open-ended statements or questions will help them come to their own truth. And there there are, of course, nuances about both of those ends, the generator type and the non-generator type. But if that's the only thing that you take away from this episode, is that by teaching our kids to trust themselves and also having a trusted person to help you tap into what your truth is through those yes, no questions or open-ended questions based on type, that alignment with truth can be a powerful way to start aligning with what's right for you and to decrease some of that frustration. I know that so much of the frustration, the anxiety, and the overwhelm that we feel as humans is because our sacral, our inner knowing, our intuition, our soul knows what's right for us, and our head tells us a different truth. And we more often than not make decisions based on what our head is telling us because our head takes into account how it will influence everybody around us. And our head takes into account how our decisions, will save us money or will make sure that we keep peace, right? Our heads are designed to be people pleasers, although there's an element of people pleasing that's also a nervous system response. But either way, um, people pleasing is not an intuitive decision making. But we're designed to make decisions in that way through our head, oftentimes through people pleasing, and not in trusting our own inner knowing. So by tapping into that for ourselves, teaching our kids how to do that, we reduce our frustration, we reduce our overwhelm because then there's not this disconnect. There's not this friction between what our body knows is right for us and what our mind is deciding for us. Think about how powerful that is for you and for your kids to make more aligned decisions. Because your kid isn't here to be managed, neither are you. Our kids are really here to be understood, as are you. But while we're stuck in these old patterns, we're trying to use maybe some new tools, but we're repeating these old patterns, which for myself, for people that I support, when we're stuck in these old patterns, but we're trying to use new tools and we haven't yet regulated our nervous system, it can create some burnout. It can cause conflict and confusion within ourselves when we're not really creating a new pattern. We're not really creating a new belief. We're not really stepping into trusting ourselves. It can cause so much havoc inside of us. So, what do we do with all this information, right? We are, whether or not you want to, we're all moving energetically into this new era. And it's not an overnight thing. It's been happening for decades. It will continue to happen for decades. But what it means for us as parents is first learning to trust our own selves. But then when we're showing up for our kids, it does mean less control and more guidance. It means less trying to fix our kids and to get them to fit into a box and more understanding. It means more regulation and less reaction for our kids. This I know can become challenging as you're listening to this here today, and perhaps you're putting some of the things that we talk about here into practice in your home. And, you know, you're you're working on building new beliefs about what your kids need from you, and then you send them off to school. And if your kids go to traditional public education, you can believe what you want at home, but they go off to school in old systems of control and hierarchy, and then your kids come back home. And I know that that adds layers to the challenges that you're experiencing here too. This comes up so much as I'm coaching my clients. And I often get yeah, this is a great idea, Angie, but when my kids go off to school, they're still going to be schooled in the same way that they have been. School isn't ready to help create a co-leadership system with my kids. School isn't ready to really understand my kids at a deep energetic level and teach them based on design. And although that may be true where you live, that isn't true everywhere. They're actually democratic schools where the kids are the decision makers. There's some locally here close to where I am that where the kids are engaged in the hiring process for new teachers. The kids are engaged in making all of the important decisions for the school, all of them. Imagine how empowering that is for kids when what they're getting at home from you is also what's happening out for them in their education system, because that then empowers them to become the adults that they're meant to be, not the adults that, you know, fit into whatever box that we think our kids are supposed to fit into. So, as we kind of wrap up this episode, what I want you to leave with is thinking about the power that you have to recognize that we are going through this shift and understanding it a little bit more and understanding where your frustration, where your anxiety, where your overwhelm comes from. That it isn't that anything's gone wrong. It isn't that you're not enough or doing enough or trying hard enough. I really feel like so much of what we are feeling as a society is this liminal space of what once was and what is yet to come. And our minds don't know what to do with that. But we get to take back control of that. And I know I've been talking so much lately about control. I feel like control just keeps repeating itself in the clients that come to me, the discussions that I have, the what I notice that people are experiencing. is this idea of control. And I don't mean take back control, like you need to manage every little piece of it. But when we are feeling like this loss of control with our own sense of well-being, we get to take back some of that control and feel more empowered over what's happening. We get to create a space where we feel more empowered. We are more empowered with the next steps in our life. It may not be our job to know exactly what's happening next, but it is up to us to decide when we're ready to take control over our own nervous system today, over how we're showing up for our kids, over letting go of some of the fear. Because what if it is that fear that is creating some of that chaos? That is what I believe. I believe that is our fear, fear of the loss of control from the past and looking forward, the fear of the unknown, I think is what's creating so much of that internal chaos. Where our soul is telling us really genuinely to take this time to really connect with ourselves and to really listen to what is right for us, really listen to what our body needs, what our family needs from us, and to shut out outside opinions. That's what our soul is saying, and our mind and our nervous system is saying, yeah, but everything feels like it's falling apart, or yeah, but I don't know what's happening next. That's the disconnect. That's the chaos. And so letting go of some of that control over the things outside of us and regaining control over what's inside of us, that's where your power lies. So a few practical things that you can do is to really pause. That next time you're going to react, right? Somebody says something that upsets you, or your kids do something that drives you nuts, to really take a pause before you react. And in that pause, get curious about that behavior, about those words, about what's happening, to really get curious and to even maybe ask yourself, is this fear that I'm feeling helpful? Is it necessary? What is it really about? Is this fear holding me back or pushing me forward? And then once you've done that and you're in a space where you can respond to the kids, let them have a voice. Instead of reacting to your kids' behaviors, imagine what would happen. And I encourage you to try it out when you respond to their energetic needs. When you respond to trying to connect with them instead of control them, right? Think about this. If your kids are acting out, they're, maybe the kids are fighting, right? And if your go-to is, knock that off, or, why are you fighting again? Or, maybe a threat of like, if you guys don't stop it, you're going to take a timeout, or I'm going to put the tablet away, or whatever it might be, right? Whatever your go-to reaction is, imagine what would happen if you paused, got curious about the behavior, and then instead of reacting, you responded to that unmet need. And really, as you got curious about that behavior, what if you came to the conclusion that, well, one of my kiddos really needs to feel empowered, and they're the one that's acting out right now. And what is it that they felt disempowered in that moment? How can I support their need for power? Or if you have a kiddo who really struggles with feeling like they belong, and they're the one that kind of instigated the behavior, what is happening in that moment that caused them to question whether or not they belong? And ask them. Ask them in a way that helps them feel safe and okay to express what they need. Ask them in a way that helps them see that you really honor their energetic needs by asking them questions that are aligned with them. And just watch what shifts in your dynamics with your kids. Watch what shifts when you pause, get curious, and respond to your kids' needs instead of reacting to their behavior. This is the work of changing and responding to what energetically is happening around us. We don't have to feel chaotic here. We don't have to feel like we've lost control. In fact, what if this is really an invitation to shift the way that we're showing up in our families? Because you're not failing. You're not doing an awful job. Even if it looks in your family or you feel like you have so much evidence that everything is going wrong and you don't know what you're doing, just I trust that you are a good parent who's parenting in a new era, and our kids need to do different things from us than they did before. This isn't about harder, more challenging parenting. It's about different parenting, more aligned parenting. So, when you're ready to really shift things in your family, I'd love to connect with you. I offer a free connection clarity call where I'd love to help show you perhaps where you're getting stuck. So, until next time, happy connecting.